It's time for the Keyforge Would You Rather this week on Archon's Corner. If you like the episode, consider supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/Archon's Corner. Don't forget, patrons always listen ad-free, as long as getting a bunch of other goodies along the way. You can find your Archon's Corner merch over at Spreadshirt.com. Link in the description down below. All right, guys, I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of a forewarning on this one. I kind of did mess up this week. I muted myself for a good portion of the show due to the fact of I'm getting over the flu. So I didn't want you hearing all my coughing. I think you're going to hear it anyways, but you're going to hear a little bit of coughing. And I tried to mute myself and get rid of it as much as possible, and then just forgot to unmute myself. So I did have to take a little chunk of the show out. It might be a little strange, a little awkward. Hopefully it's not. And I've covered it up enough for you to not even notice. But I gave you a little bonus episode from what we talk about before we get into it. Don't forget, listen to us live every Thursday. Okay.
I had to reboot my computer. I'm lost.
Oh.
We're apparently doing a Would You Rather show, but we have no show notes. That's what we're doing.
You were part of the show.
Whatever Wookie says, that's what
you
we're
were
doing.
part of the show notes, were you not?
Yeah, the show notes that says all the combinations that we're going to talk about.
Not in the
today.
Google Docs. Just be quiet.
Mother flower.
All right, what's going on, everybody? I am the one, the only, the W-O-O-K-I-E. Joined here by the normal cast of fucking buffoons. We have Z.
Me, I don't know what the hell we're doing today.
Yep. As normal, Z has no idea what's going on. In other news, some of the misfits that are here today are the Choke Show.
Yo, guys, how's it going?
And the president of AABD and our resident PhD, Dr. Sheep.
That's me.
Yes, so today we are doing, Z, the Keyforge Would You Rather, right? You ever played this game before where I give you two options and you choose which one you would rather have in a certain thing? This isn't like the gross out one where I'd be like, hey, would you rather have to eat snails for the year but have $1 million or just eat regular food and owe $10,000? It's not one of those.
Is this going to be like, would you rather have Grommet or Twiki Kraken?
Oh, God.
I mean, it could be if that's a question you're posing. My question in the chat was very different.
The answer is Grommet, because then you're not playing DT.
You can get a Twiki Kraken in WoW.
Oh, well then,
I love how he's the tweaking Kraken. Like, he's done far too much crack, so he is tweaking the fuck out.
If I can get a low Tweaky Kraken, I'm going to go with the low Tweaky Kraken, and then that'd be great.
Yeah, he's a low.
I spent a lot of time analyzing cards this week, so if you want to join our Patreon, you can be part of that discussion.
Yes, one of these days after Wookie is all done being with the flu, because I guess that's a thing that somehow still exists in 2023, 2022.
I know a lot of people with the flu right now,
which is crazy.
The last month, yeah.
I figured they'd just be like, "You have COVID," and like send me on my way. But I have the influenza, which I guess I forgot how much sucked. The flu just suck. It's not fun, not at all. So let's get started with the Would You Rather, boys.
Sir.
Would you rather have more variants in Keyforge and have just bananas decks, but you're also going to have really, really shit decks? You know what I mean? You're going to have a really high variance. Like the high variant
now.
Like, how can you get worse than some of the decks we have now?
Or would you rather have there be a very tight pack of SAS numbers where every deck seems to be there's there outliers, but you have a lot fewer highly competitive decks, but every deck seems to be somewhat relatively matched.
Start tidying.
Okay. So answer the question, Z.
So would I rather play Coda or Tartides? I'd rather play Coda. That's the answer.
Okay.
What is this for?
What do you mean? What is this for?
I mean, sealed
funsies?
and me.
Well, do both then.
Things.
Do both then. What would you, if you're playing sealed? Would you rather have it one way? If you're playing Archon, would you rather have it another way?
For sealed, I definitely want it to be tighter, right? Because it's never fun in sealed to feel like you lost just because your deck is significantly worse than the next person's. But for having any value in opening decks, there has to be a bigger spread.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're saying for you the value in opening decks is finding that monster, and you want the spread.
Well, I think it is pretty true that if I knew I opened 10 decks and they're all within one small standard deviation of each other in power, right? And then I don't need to open more decks because it's not like I'm going to get something significantly different.
Because Z once told me, might have been in a Denny's in the middle of, where the hell were we? What was it? KFC. Minnesota. That once you find your bomb, your banger, right? There is no more reasons for you to open decks.
Okay, well, I fully disagree with that.
I disagree.
That is a drastic misquote.
Okay.
But that's normal.
Quote
that's
it better.
Par for the course.
Quote it better then, because once I have my banger, opening decks for the reason of finding a more powerful deck is now a moot point.
Significantly diminished.
I said once you get to a certain level of collection with a certain amount of A tier or top tier quality decks, there's drastically diminishing returns on buying further sealed product.
Okay.
That is what I said, which somehow meant never buy another deck once you get a good deck.
That's what it sounds like to me still here today.
Well, because what you're talking about, Z, right? Is...
I'm just talking about straight math and money.
Yeah.
Once you hit 1,000 decks, it actually doesn't even matter if you found a banger in that 1,000 decks. If you open 1,000 decks of sealed product, the chances, mathematically, that, they're going to be better than your current collection or add to it or even be in your top 10, go down with every single deck you buy. That's just the fact of the math.
Yeah, and I still play the lottery.
Yes. Yes, you do.
Well, you play the wrong lottery. You play the AOA lottery. Have you found anything yet?
AOA is like getting pull tabs at the bar. You're never going to win anything, but it's still kind of fun.
Every now and again, you get your money back.
Yeah. And that was also my argument of why, as they progress sets, they should kind of naturally, progressively age out older sets by making each set slightly more powerful as they are producing, designing cards. Because, your natural buying power, if all of the sets are of equal power levels, is greatly diminishing over time to the point where, once you hit 2,000 decks, if you're buying it, you're buying it just for fun. You're buying it for that lottery aspect that sheep loves and enjoys. And that's great for some people. But, when you're talking about, we want to keep getting new players into this game, if they're buying something if set 10 down the road is this exact same average power as every other set before it, and the player base already has 1,000 to 2,000 decks from the OG people, the chances that you will ever be competitive are very small. They are not calculable at that rate, unless the sets are increasing in power.
Well, I don't think
because they won't be able to buy
power, but they can't get tighter distribution.
They have to. Like, the numbers doesn't support it not getting more powerful as you go. Or else, like, new players will never be able to enter the game because they literally can't even buy the old sets, right? Like, it's just not available to them. And they are already outgunned as far as, like, number of decks in population. So, like this isn't Magic. Like, it doesn't follow any other game design. So they can't just go build the meta deck. Like, that doesn't exist. So there are two factors here. Like, there are decks that you can't buy because they are not printed anymore. You don't have access to buy them. And
remember to the Sheep Shack. It's still
everyone else that's currently competitive has either like 100 great decks to pull from, like me, since I whittled down my collection from the 2000, or still has their 2000 decks, which is the thing you're competing against. Like, that is their arsenal.
So I have lots of decks. I think I don't know if I have 1,000 or not. I got a lot.
Yeah, like, you have a lot of B+ tier decks from some sets. Like some of your stuff is MM, some of it's AOA or whatever. Like, you have a lot of, like, it's hard to get a really good
almost
B+ deck.
an equal distribution between all sets. 6 boxes.
Yeah.
Besides for DT, where I still only have 2.
Yeah, so, like, if I'm a new player, and all of us want new players, I come into WoW. Let's say WoW was, like, the equal, like, the exact average of all 5 existing sets from stuff you have. It would take me as that new player entering the game to buy however many decks you have total to have the same, like, just deck arsenal quality value without going to the secondary market, which is a lot of money to enter this game to be as competitive as the Wookiee. As far as just from that one, like, that's one tier of Keyforge, it's just one element, but it is an important one.
Okay, there is a issue though, is if every set gets better, and essentially all the stuff I currently own is going to be.
I'm not talking about, like, a great increase here. Like, I think that's what a lot of people, like, react to me when I say that is like 5 to 10% increase per set.
No, that's already too much, because after 3 or 4 sets, 30% is already enough to knock out, like, everything except like the top 2 best decks from older stuff.
But it doesn't work that way, because, like, the way that Keyforge. Well, no, because the highest spiking stuff from most sets isn't, like, it's spiking so high, it's not going to eliminate that deck. Like, I don't know what could possibly be out there for, like, you know, Sasha or Galaxy or Pink Jacket or whatever. Like, such drastic things, or Caruso even. Like, things would have to change. Like, the whole set can't spike above the highest from the previous sets, almost no matter what you do.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. There are going to be a few decks, but Square Bus becomes 100% unviable instead of its 80% unviable it is now.
Yeah, but I mean, like, since MM, I don't know how viable it is now.
I mean, I'll give you $10 for Square Bus.
Pan is kind of the same. Everything I own is the same way. Like, the new sets came out and they become less viable, and and that has something to do with that. I haven't bought the top 1 or 2 or top 10 deck from a previous set to hope it makes the cut. But even as we're looking, another deck we talk about all the time is Donovan, and that is starting to lose its top tier status because it can't deal with boards well enough often. So it's a thing.
You say this, but you still made top 4.
No, I made top 8.
Top
Anyways.
8? Oh, top 8, yeah.
Anyway,
like, that's real good. Like, there's like what 70-something other people that would have loved to have been there.
They
I would have loved to have made top 8.
Yeah,
just saying. Instead of getting kicked in the pants, a couple times.
If they seriously make the top end or whatever end 5 or 10% better, like, it's gonna make it at some point where, well, the only such a small percentage from previous sets are worthwhile having. But I think your investment.
Well, hold on.
People are not going to,
because this is a point you say all the time. That's just part of card games. Like, card games.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if we want, like, there ever to be new people, like, if we want the current population of Keyforge to be double, triple, a lot of us would like it to be 10 times that. Like, that still has to happen for new people to be able to enter the game well.
Yeah,
because they can't build a deck.
in our discussion, it can't have tighter variants because then the new sets won't produce enough.
Yeah.
Well,
Tournament
but what if that
are
variance is
viable
shifted more
decks.
towards the higher end, though?
So that
Then-
every deck is essentially
Well, then-
a 95.
then you get to an area where- I would
Well,
disagree.
no, I'm not.
that.
Somewhere between. Let's call it B to B plus.
That's too high.
That's
Too high?
It's still high because if your standard deviation is everything's in the B minus is between B minus and B plus, then one extra standard deviation puts you in A range, and there are going to be some decks that like there are still decks even though you're trying to tighten up your tail ends. Like there are going to be decks that enter that mythical S tier that we don't believe exists. Some of us.
Just
Nothing.
Z. Just
It's
Z.
not a thing.
There's definitely
Like-
a thing.
The thing is like they have, and Z doesn't have the stuff, or Z has the stuff we're not talking about today. But if you look, they have already done exactly what you're saying. But the true thing is their targeted average is the equivalent of a mid 60s deck. And if you look as sets have gone on, they have gotten smaller distribution ranges. Right? Like
the
they're
MM
doing this. They are
distribution.
making the average deck. They have been successfully making less really bad decks.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
where MM
yes.
is. That's why
So
MM is
instead
the
they just
set
made a
that I
whole
just-
bad set.
Well, DT is. I mean, DT's wonky, right? But it's fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, but it's wonky.
I mean, you say wonky,
Well, but the
I
issue
say
with
garbage.
Well, but that's what our choice is here, right? Like, if you look at DT as a set, the sealed play is very competitive because almost anyone has a chance to win with any deck because all of them do regress to the mean really, really closely. None of them spike high, almost none of them spike low. So you get this very median play. That's what DT is. I think it's a great sealed experience, honestly. It's like if I were to pick a sealed event to go to try to like win something big, I would pick DT because then I could rely on just skilled play more so than variance, which is what a lot of the ones have because every deck is going to have a chance to beat your opponent if you just play well. I mean, there's still obviously real bad ones even inside that small like variance range, but it's still more skill testing from what I've seen than the other ones. We're like, oh, AOA, did I get Amber Control for this deck? No, great. GG. Like,
Yes. So I think even there with the general, and AOA was actually a set that had a tighter distribution, it seemed, too. When you look at the average SAS values, again, lower, and even there it doesn't spike as high. But that one, they didn't fix the low end spikes, right?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's something I think, and this is where you say lower variance, which is good, but I think just however you do it, but tuning the system so it makes less duds, right? Where you just cut off the left hand of the bell curve to some extent. Like they're really rare that you actually. It's already rare that you see a real bad reversal deck, but like like really make it really, really rare to see just like a deck that's just not fun, doesn't do anything, and is an awful experience.
Like if you really want a good reversal deck, you actually do have to go all the way back to Coda or AOA. You won't find a true top end reversal deck in any other set.
It does not seem so.
Ketzer in the chat says he would rather have the variants.
Yes.
So
Yes. I'll take the variants too because like if you want to see stuff, make Archon tables. You still got to have the chance to spike. And I am one of the few people who like reversal, so I'm fine with the full variants to have
what's
the low
reversal?
end. Yeah, I know it died,
doesn't
but you can do
exist
anything you
anymore.
want at locals, so you can run your store championship that way. Anyway, but yeah, I think what we saw in MM is probably the best player base friendly. It still has the top end, and they cut off the low end. Not sure how we went from MM where they had like the full range of variants minus the low end to DT where everything just got shoved into the middle with no top, no bottom, like no low, no
Well,
high.
And you and I, well, you did it. We're gonna go through it on Patreon here shortly. You did kind of I'm guessing you graded each card, like you gave it a letter grade and then kind of varianced it out to find out which.
So yeah, it's like kind of like a passion project for the week. Again, if you want to see all the details, join our Patreon. I took every single card in the game. I rated it 0 to 6.
And wins of exchange.
Every single card in the whole game.
Oh, now you've done the whole game?
The whole game.
Wow,
Every
okay.
single card. And then I also rated whether it contributed to certain things in the game, like whether that card can generate amber easily, whether it has any kind of amber control, creature control, efficiency, disruption, whether it is a creature that is big enough to constitute to the board, and other like normal things. It's nothing to do with SAS or Arc or anything like that. It's just, can this card have an impact on the game state in a certain way? And then that was able to generate a whole bunch of stuff, all the way to a house comparison. So I can actually now compare any house in the game in any set to any other house in the game from any set in a quantifiable way. So yeah, all that data would be available if you were on Patreon.
It'll be available here in about 2 seconds. But yes, I thought you just did wins of wins.
Yeah, well, I started off that way. I kind of felt okay about the way the numbers came out. So I started to do it for set 1, and I started adding more and more and more and more and more, and then it got more refined and then more tweaked, and now it is very robust in the amount of information that it provides. I have average values per common, per uncommon, per rare for every house. Like, how many Amber Gang cards does this house have at common, uncommon, rare? For any house, any set, I've got it all that information.
So I'm looking here, and I just see, wow, whoa, Mars is a little lower than I'm expecting. Is that just because you gave all the Power Rangers Fs or zeros?
I did give them a 0, but like it's interesting. Like,
but
doing
it's not
this,
wrong.
Well, no, because and this is actually like I got to specify when we're talking about these scores as far as rating, it is purely a competitive lens. I'm not talking about sealed. I'm not talking about like fun cards to go play or casual, because like in that case, Brig would probably have a higher rating because it is like, I can go into casual, I can do fun things with certain cards. I'm talking about like if I want to go to an event and play in Archon, this would be the reading of that card. Hence, it has nothing to do with SAS or Arc or anything, because SAS and Arc has to be this is the most average use of this card, period. Which is, I was able to use a different lens for this because we're just talking about like the maximum competitive value of certain things. Because certain cards in competitive are useless. Like Niffle Ape is not good.
Unless it has a pet. It might have a pet.
Still not good. Still take a dust,
good.
Pixie.
You might have Niffle Grounds with 2 pips.
3 pips.
Yeah, but even if the Niffle Ape had a pip, like the Ghost Hawk could have had that pip, right? Like that's
right.
So that's all moot. So like that kind of thing. So, and it actually does line up with a lot of what I was expecting to see. So like, yeah, we'll have a whole episode where we'll talk about that. But if you actually want to see like where everything came from, I do not intend on making that completely public. So you would need to be a Patreon if you really want to see the nuts and bolts behind where all that came from.
Give us some dollars.
Sheep needs to continue that AOA habit. So
for the first time, I'm supporting Wookiee's Patreon pump thing.
Thank God.
This was a lot of hours of work. I probably spent like 20 hours at least doing this.
It's a lot. All right, so Z said more variants. Mr.
Yes, back on topic. Variants.
Mr. Draz to the core, variants or tighter spreads?
Well, I liked the spread in MM. I would want to see like that. Not a lot of terrible stuff, a lot of middle good stuff, and then a long tail of powerful stuff at the top end.
So more variants or higher or less or higher or more level.
So that's
decks.
More variants on the top end, less variants on the bottom end. That's what that curve looks like.
That sounds like a lot to put in, but okay. And Sheep, what do you got?
Overall, I'm a more variants.
Okay.
I'll even take the low end trash.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
You like your Phosphor Stars deck.
Ugh,
God.
nobody likes that deck.
That's
You're
such
not
cool.
the one that ever has to play it.
All right.
Yes, but it makes the game go on forever.
Go to time
Yeah,
every
it does.
time.
Go to time.
But
It
it
sounds like
has
my kind of
point-
deck.
It's got 0.8 expected amber. So after
Well, and
after
your EP
18
unit.
cycles of that deck, you might forge a key. Forge 3 keys.
Well, and then you're crushing half of it with the EPs. So.
Yes.
All right. Second, do you like the rules as they sit now? Or would you rather be able to cheat cards into play? I.e., Wild Wormhole, which allows you to reveal the top. We're minus a Wook bot today. Allows you to reveal the top card of your deck and play that card. And if you Wild Wormhole into something, say, like Khalifi Dragon, where it says you got to have, 7 Umber to be able to play this card?
Mm-hmm. Or like wild wormholing into an action while you're scramble. I guess you can't do that no matter what.
You mean every freaking card in AOA because they all have alpha on them?
Yeah, wild
Right.
wormholing into alpha, wild wormholing into a creature while life wars out. So you're
My
saying,
more focus, you guys bring up good points. My more focus was like exhuming a Khalifi Dragon, where I take a card from my discard pile and I get to play it on the battlefield, right? Like, to me, those cards are what they call in Magic cheating a card into play, right? I have gone around its cost to just put it into play and get it out there. And I understand we have put into play. That is not what I'm talking about here, Dan. Sit down.
But it is what you're talking about.
To a degree, it is what I am talking about, yes. But to another degree, it's another fold, because put into play gets rid of it, just puts it into play. It just appears, but nothing happens.
Where
creature, any static effects happen,
Mm-hmm.
right? But yes, like you can't put into play. Well, like when you put into play a Chonkers, it doesn't get its power counter, so it's real bad.
Right.
Infernus and Eddie would be bad.
Yeah, anything with a play effect. So when we were talking about this, the thing is that some cards have a cost. So there are several creatures, Galleon being one of them, that says play destroy a friendly creature when you put it into play. And is that a cost that you're trying to avoid? Because sometimes I got a Dust Pixie and I want them dead.
Sure.
Or not a Dust Pixie. Yes.
Keyfrog.
Keyfrog, good. Yes, anything with a good destroy effect, right? Like, I think I see what you're saying, but I don't see a route where you say what you can and can't ignore, or is the card just going to be like, you can put this card into play and you could ignore any effects you don't want to do.
Well,
right? Like, is that what it is? It's like
do as much as you want instead of do as much as you can.
I got this sweet Truebauer, like I don't want to pay us 3, so I'm not going to.
Right, but I as we go along, right? So like Tengaika, right? Cannot be played from hand. Or so what does Tengaika say? Cannot be played. Does it just say cannot be played from hand?
This is the guy who comes out from Cultists.
Right.
I don't know what it says. We don't have a Wook bot, so we're not going to know what cards do today.
Feel better soon. It sounds like he probably has.
You cannot play Tengaika unless you control 4 or more cultists, is what it says now.
Well, let's say I get that Legacy Maverick Wormhole, and I Wild Wormhole Tengaika. Wouldn't that be fun to wormhole him in? Or maybe I get that Legacy Maverick Exhume, where I could exhume him from my discard pile.
Sure, if you control 4 cultists.
So you guys just are all against like cheating creatures. And that's fine.
Yeah.
It's the whole point of the question.
I think because most of those big creatures with stupid costs aren't actually that good, that I'm okay with there being more ways to cheat them into play. I'm just also a very rules-driven thinker, and I just don't see how you make a rule that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, so you reworld Wild Wormhole.
But like I'm saying,
there's
like,
nothing you could reword it to be that.
like I
Flip
said,
the top
it's my
card of-
card.
Flip the top.
Ignore what
flip
you
the-
want on it.
Flip the top card of your deck. Play that card regardless of any restrictions.
Then
But
you'd have
it's
to
like-
define restriction, and then you have to
Yeah.
define it on a per card basis because some of these things aren't actual restrictions.
Well, okay, so a Scrambler Storm. I'm not allowed to play actions, but if I flip it with a wormhole, I am, because that is a restriction that has been put on me.
Yeah,
But-
but you have to define everything that is a restriction
Yes.
in a book somewhere. I understand
Like
what
that
you
restriction,
want.
we'd have to like another restriction list, which would be like jar, scramble storm, so like every single card.
Functionally, it's a pain in the ass.
Functionally, it's a pain in the ass. Weird thing is that there are people who are paid to do this.
It's no, because I don't want to have to remember, especially when you get into goofy situations.
What
And
goofy
as the-
situation could arise from play this card regardless of any restrictions you may have?
Because we don't know, because that adds a level of complexity and rules development forever going forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Keitzer just asked in chat, what are the two options here? And so I said,
So-
A, do whatever you want. B, play by some rules.
no, that is not. You guys are too like this whole tunnel vision thing you have is like you're
So-
like you guys like you're like thinking outside thinking outside the box. Never heard of her. Who's what? Options?
I think outside of the box all the time.
No,
It's
you
just
don't.
like the
You
two-
are
the two things
squarely
you're trying
in the
to-
box, in the corner of the box.
Rip a hole in the side of the box.
Yeah, Wookiee's like, we don't even need a box. Don't think at all.
Just get rid of the box.
Yeah, just get rid of the box.
There is no box.
There is no spoon. Oh, it's box. Yes, there is
Now,
no box.
So, all right. So to answer your question more seriously, Wookie, I think the concept that you're going for, I think, like as stated,
Because the way
don't-
you're saying it, all three of you assholes is like, I'm just like, rules, fuck them. Whoosh, out the window. There go the rules. See that Keyforge document rolling down the street? We're not following that anymore. And that is not what I'm saying at all.
No, I think so. I think potentially there's some interesting card out there that could read something to the effect of like, play a card, do not trigger its play effect, right? And
Yeah, that's already
something
put
like
into
that.
play, right? This is
Right, that's put into play.
yeah, I mean, I guess I haven't thought that
Because
long
like
about what it
Khalifi
could
Dragon's
be, but-
effect is not it's not a play effect. It's just a situation he has.
Or-
It's just a part of his card that you cannot play him unless you have 7 or more Ember.
Yeah.
It's not a play. It's not like play. You may not
All
play
right, so
Khalifi
what if-
Dragon unless you have 7 or
so-
more Ember. Unless he's been
so
errata,
maybe-
and maybe he has. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you could do something interesting. Like, all right, here's maybe you have linked rarity, interesting card for sealed. It probably doesn't make sense for like Archon, but like do something kind of sort of like a Khalifi Dragon, where it's like, hey, you need 7 Ember, you need a certain restriction, and then have a linked rarity card that says something to the effect of, like, if you don't have 7 Ember, go to 7 Ember. That's probably not. That's too good, but yeah, that's really good. Or put the put 4 cultists into
Okay.
play. I don't know.
All right,
I
here's
have-
Wookie's card. Here's Wookie's-
I too have figured out the wording.
All right, I've got a card for Wookie. Wookie wants Wookie's wormhole. Gain an amber. Discard the top card. the Wookie hole. Discard cards from the top of your deck until you reveal a creature. Then put that creature into play. Then resolve its play effect. There you go. It does
Yeah.
it.
So
Like-
can I go back to what my problem is with lots of formats that I always see presented, and people are like, oh, you make it better by playing Hexad, or
Oh god.
we're playing Oubliette, or we're playing Exchange, or we're playing this, or we're playing that. Every single thing I see, right, always adds significant complexity to before you even start the game.
Yep.
And I know I like have this old school thing about me where I'm like I'm the one who's always fighting for what Keyforge was, and I'm not opposed to change, and I'm not opposed to things being different, But there are many people, and this includes me, like this, and this is why I'm so adamant about this, is like, this is the game I play because it does not require that much planning and complexity and all this ridiculous stuff when I go to sit down and play a game, right? It's shuffle the freaking deck and go, right? That's the beauty of what Keyforge is. And because I don't even have to build the deck, I'm literally just shuffling what I'm playing, right? I don't have to sit there and go like, this event I'm going to this weekend, do I need to put the 4 copies of this in or the 4 copies of this? Am I more likely to see green-black decks or blue-red decks? And then I have to tech for this or this and hate it all, right? Like, I hate that stuff. That's exactly what I am avoiding playing Keyforge, and people are pushing for more of that to be part of this game. And I think there is a large component of people who don't want to deal with that stuff, right? And if this game pushes that way, where it's always more complexity, that isn't necessarily going to deliver more players.
Well, then I was going to say, like, something that's more important to us now more than ever going forward is, like, we need more players. And, like, all of the formats that I see people, like saying the most about, like, in the most heated way, are the more complex formats going into, like, the future. I was like, yes, a lot of us played a lot of these weird, janky stuff because it's been so damn long since we had regular set rotation. Like, you know, new sets coming out versus, like, then there's the whole sealed experience of it. Like, we just got bored. So they came up with all these things. They're like, well, they should do this and this and this. And all of those are way more complex and way easier to execute online and leagues when you have all that kind of time. I don't know how long
I've been muted on the OBS recording. That sucks.
You're in the corner. Here we go.
All right, guys. Are you ready? It's now time for our titular segment. Why Drazcor sucks at Keyforge.
He doesn't suck. He just chokes.
He chokes. Okay. Drazcor, what did you do this week to suck at Keyforge?
All right. So all right. AB on, and we realized that these two folks didn't get a chance to play, and it's like, we got to play a game. And so I'm like, well, you know, I always try to reserve myself as the captain to not sub, because not every season, but this can happen, right? So I always want to be a legit sub. So I'm like, all right, like, we have to play now. Like, I'll play whoever's available on your team. And so Jace Russell's like, hey, you know what? It's gonna be me. We're just gonna do it. And so we both were like, what in the world decks did these guys pick? And we're both looking at the decks. We're like, okay. I mean, they're fine decks, right? But it's not like, so it's Archon week. It's not like they're bad decks at all. But I know I had suggested one. Hey, I think you'll like this one. They just went with another. So the deck that my person picked, high SAS, 91 SAS, decent amount of good stuff in it, except very, very little Ember control. Very little. Like numbers like 4 or 5, but even in that 4 or 5, like 4 or 5 is overcounting. But it can make Ember. So best of 3. So we're playing best of 3. First game, just I can't get my engine started soon enough, and I just get rolled. Second game, I get my engine going. He can't stop me. I roll. Third game's a good game. It's real close, and I think I have him where I want him. I'm ahead of him. I go ahead and I flip my deck and draw my new hand, and I've got nothing. I can either play the board, which is reap for not enough to get to check. I can play one house, get 0 Ember, not get to check, obviously. Or play the other house, get 1 Ember, and not get to check. And basically, it's all about what in the world can I draw? Because by the way, he has enough on board to reap into check, and I have no Ember control in my hand. I got to draw that to stop him, and I'm probably not drawing it. So, the deck stalled, and I lost. I don't know if there was really much I could have done there. The flip was real bad. I don't know. Z, you were watching the game. I know we didn't have hands shown or anything. I don't know if you were like.
I didn't see any outs that you like simply missed. I think like the choke show as far as this goes would have been like the person who picked the deck. Like it was one of those like high sass, like I don't know.
The choke is what did losing it cost you?
Yeah, so it was a big deal because this was a 3-way tiebreaker.
That's why I was watching.
If we get this win, if I win this game, we tie for second, and we have the tie break, and therefore we get into second, and we get a bye week. If I lose the game, we're on the bottom of that 3-way tie, and so we're in fourth, still in the playoffs, but we don't get the bye week. So that best of 3, that final game, that flip. Had that flip been different, I think I could have won, right? But sometimes you flip and you don't get it.
Shows up.
Sometimes the opposite happens. My team went from 6th 3 weeks ago to 1st.
So we definitely
that's because you took my team from like 3rd to 8th.
I wasn't gonna mention that. I felt real bad. Like Mark's such a great guy, and like for it to be his team, every time I play Mark, like it pretty much goes that way. I do feel bad about that.
Oh, we were abused.
It was rough. We almost got the perfect week. Almost.
Ooh. There you have it. Loki, that was the choke.
Oh boy. Choke show, we love you. If you want a hug later on, I'll give it to you. You're gonna catch the flu, but I'll give it to you.
Oh, ugh. Maybe get better first.
Yeah. Well, no. This is your would you rather right now. Would you rather have a hug and feel better and catch the flu, or no hug and still feel like garbage?
I think I'll pick not the flu.
All right, fair enough. I would also pick not the flu. I'd be like, I'll feel bad about it for a little while, but I won't be dying in bed.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's get back to our regularly scheduled program.
I'm in the corner.
But either way, I muted myself on the OBS recording because I was coughing.
Perfect.
We'll find out in post. It probably wasn't that long. But if you look in the AC live chat, and I have to kind of take a little chunk out, that what I am proposing is a 4-player format, much like Commander. I don't know if deck building would be involved. Again, we haven't gotten that damn far. But if you look in the AC live chat, Dan, this is what I'm talking about. Where
I see it.
Yeah, they're from a thing called Planeswake. Now, this is back in the early 90s.
Yeah, okay, I remember that word.
Where, so you would play one of these at the beginning of your game. This was your character, right? This one happens to be Urza, right? So, I think that says starting and maximum hand size is -1, but you get +10 to your starting life. So you would start with 30 life, but you could only ever have 6 cards in your hand. You could pay 3, Urza deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So, your little... Your Archon would have a power. I know that kind of
you're just gonna get a leader effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get the Brobnar leader effect. All your crappy Brobnar creatures have skirmish. Or
I could see that being a fun.
I mean, they could have a house leader effect.
Yeah,
right. But what I'm saying is,
you could definitely see that being a thing in the next.
You have a 4. You have 4 people, like Commander, and kind of this more casual, fun play style where kind of anything goes, right? Z, did you ever play Ultimate Pit Fight in Flesh and Blood?
I saw it played. I was I've seen it. I know what you're talking about.
But it's this more because you don't know what's going to happen, right? Because you're basically not planning for anyone else's deck because you're playing against 4 other decks. There's no way to plan for it. But then you have you have like your quote unquote commander, which I think they could do something like this. Obviously, starting life and min max hand size probably not going to be the things you choose. Maybe, I don't know, but you could give them a little. You could give your Archon some power.
Yeah, like I said, you could have Archon traits.
Right.
Like, my Archon has +1 hand size all the time. That sounds good to me.
Yeah, of course it sounds good to you, but I don't know if this would be good. Like, if you want to necessarily introduce this into Keyforge itself.
My Archon is Shaffles. You just lose an amber every turn.
That's fine. On the other side, your Archon gains an amber at the end of every turn of their own turns.
But like doing
we
something
played this format, right, where we just started with
Yeah,
artifacts and played.
yeah, we did that. Like we did the speed sigil format and the annihilation ritual static.
Yeah, but like doing
the
something
whirlpool
like this.
pit load format, that one.
Yes.
Oh my god!
I think something like this where you have 4 people, and I don't know why everyone's like, oh, it's really hard to adapt this game to multiplayer, and it's like it's really not. Like they kind of already started to do it for you, right? Like
I
I'm
don't
pretty
think this is that hard to adapt to multiplayer. I still just don't see the attraction of it. Like I've never sat down and been like, boy, I really wish I could be playing with 2 more players.
I mean, you hate everyone, so that's not my fault.
I like Keyforge the way I play it, which is most games last
Solitaire.
between 10 and 15 minutes, and then you go on to the next one,
And
right?
Dan does most of the playing while you sit there.
Well, if the game is going well, this is a thing, right? But like I don't want to play a game that's going to last an hour and a half to get one solution that is Keyforge, right? Like, I like Keyforge games that go 45 minutes.
I mean, I don't know a lot of Magic or a lot of Commander games that are going that deep. It is a completely different game with a different power level. But, I get what you're saying. You want to get in and get out and get on with your way. But again, you're more of a competitive player. Even when you're playing very casually, you're playing very competitively. You as a person.
I am rarely trying to lose.
You're right. Well, nobody's trying to lose, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
I don't know. I know a few ploggins
that try to lose.
I think so.
Well,
no, I know a player.
Cloggin doesn't count. Cloggin threw out the rule. Remember that rule book we threw out the window earlier in the episode? That's Cloggin. He's just like, what's this reap you talk about? Never heard of her. And he just keeps going. He only fights.
Ancient battleground.
I got a would you rather for you.
Let's go.
Would you rather have in your deck Hypoxia, gives you a number, play, destroy each token creature, or would you rather have Market Crash, play, destroy each non-token creature, gain 2 chains? That's an Ecodon card. Hypoxia is a unfathomable card.
We go look at my ratings real quick. Market Crash, 100%.
What am I playing against?
Am I playing in?
Am I going up against a different Worlds Collide or Winds of Exchange deck, or am I playing, some other deck?
Well, let's do like before. One case where it's Archon, you could be up against anything, and then a case where you're sealed and set.
Because I think if I'm playing out of set, I'd rather have destroy each non-token creature. Mm-hmm. If I'm playing in set, I think I'd rather, unless it's Prospector, I'd rather have destroy each token creature.
I think in either situation, I'm going with Market Crash because there are plenty of other cards in WoW that take care of tokens that I want this card to handle non-token things.
Yeah, I go with Market Crash either way. Part of that means there's a higher chance I have Prospector.
Right, and you're betting on yourself having the better token, right? Because if you have the better token, you're going to get better board position here.
Yes.
I just want to race the furry people.
Wait, what?
I want to race the furry people in Keyforge.
Untamed? Like
They're
Doesn't do it.
not furry enough. Bipedal furry
Mm.
people.
Mm.
Furry people, not furry things. Furry people.
Oh, like cavemen or whatever.
No, furry people.
Furries.
No, not furries. You go back in the corner.
Like Wookiees and Ewoks?
Yes. Just want to see my people represented.
All
I am excited.
right, how
for
about
the
this
new-
one? Would you rather have Quintrino Warp or Quintrino Flux?
Easy warp.
What is
Quintrino
warp
Warp.
again?
Choose a friendly creature and an enemy creature. Destroy those creatures, and each creature that shares a house with either of them gain 1 chain. And Flux is you're picking power right on each side and destroying equivalent power. in
That's
both
actually
battle
hard. I think warp is probably better. I really hate the chain though.
Warp
Warp means
is
I'm playing.
often
Whoa.
much more feels like a one-sided board wipe.
I mean, you have to choose one of your own though.
You do.
Yes.
I do have Warp in one of my low decks, and it's been pretty good. I've been pretty happy with it. So, and I really like Flux, Quintrino Flux. But
I love Flux. That's one of
Yeah.
mine.
Flux is a very good card, but after playing against Warp is game warping.
Mm.
Like
Nice.
it's really strong. That because it's even just the way Keyforge plays. Sometimes you get 2 or 3 houses, but often you only have 1 house on the board, right?
Yeah.
And like they play 1 creature from their new house, they pick their new house, and your house that's your freaking Saurian board with you got your 7 Saurian out, and you're like, woohoo! And he plays that, and he's like, okay, I played my 1 Starlines creature, I'm going to kill that and leave my 5 guys alone and kill all your dinos. Right?
It doesn't even say if you do. So, like, if you don't have a creature, it's still going to kill their side.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, Contrino Warp is pretty good because, like, Flux only works if you have one. Because, like, you can't kill more of their creatures if you just have one of theirs to pick, right? So Warp is probably just straight up better.
Wait, which is the one? Isn't Flux the one where it's like choose a creature of each power level?
No, it's choose one of your creatures, choose one of theirs, destroy all those powers. But like to actually kill a lot of stuff.
What's the one that says each power level? So you
selective preservation.
That's okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's in DT, so it's automatically.
Which is the inferior GAC.
Yes, GAC is great though.
You're an inferior GAC.
GAC is really good.
Has anybody played WoW out in the wild? Not WoW on WoW, but WoW on other sets?
Yes.
How does it feel?
Okay. I haven't opened.
Oh,
I
thanks.
haven't opened enough WoW decks to have one that I like yet.
Yeah, small sample size.
Well, the one that you went top 8 and sealed with is now sleeping with the fishes. No pun intended.
That's because it had a fish in it, and I put it back with its people. It was a bad deck.
You went top 4 with it, didn't you?
Against like 12 people. Well, there was 28 in that.
Okay.
I should have played that instead of what I did.
Yeah. Well, you know what? All I'm saying is there have been some other posts, people saying, now that they've done some Alliance sealed stuff, it's not very satisfactory. Because it's not.
But it's not very satisfactory because they're like, oh, I didn't place in the top 8. Now it's not very satisfactory. So now instead of saying like, oh, I suck as a player, they're like, this format sucks and I don't want to play it no more.
That's what we already said about Sealed. There's lots of people who won't play Sealed because they're like, Sealed sucks.
Right.
Oh, it's the best. The best.
I love Sealed. And you want to know what? I am confident in my abilities enough to play Sealed. But there's a lot of people out there who don't look inward and only look outward and go, it's definitely the format, not my choices that I made during the game.
All I know is when I lose in Sealed, it's because of the bad deck and not because of me.
Exactly.
Yep. And when you win, it's because of you. It's perfect. It's a perfect format.
So now they're like, hey, here's 2 decks, make a better one. And you're like, nah, it's still deck. Still not me, still deck.
Yes, that is exactly right.
Thank you. I was wondering where you were going to end up with this. I'm like, there's no way you get around this.
Now,
Range.
it's when you open 2 crappy decks and you still end up with a crappy deck, it is not more satisfactory than the other format. And that happens, I think, more than people think it does.
I still can't believe I ended up with Strange Shell and Bot. Like, those were my 2 tokens. Damn it. So bad.
See? Well, and it doesn't matter, right? Like, you just opened bad and you were done.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. Same here.
So Alliance doesn't save bad openings.
Okay.
It's
so
still way less likely. Like, that is really bad.
No,
odds.
it's really not.
Yes, it is. There are 3 tokens that I have rated as bad as those 2. So, like, it's not that likely you're going to get 2 different decks that have those, like, in that range of 3.
mm.
All right. Would you rather?
All right. Last one, and then we're
Auction?
going to wrap it
Okay.
in.
All right. Last one. Auction off. It's a Equidon card, Ember Pip, play, purge an artifact. Its controller gains 1, or corrode.
I really like
Gives you a
corrode.
pip. Play, choose 1. Destroy an artifact. Destroy an upgrade. Destroy a creature with armor.
It's
It's
a
actually
thick one,
kind of
right?
a hard choice. Yeah.
Yep. I like corrode better because it gives me more flexibility. But auction off, man, there's enough shitty artifacts and
Yeah, you want
Winds
them
of
gone
Exchange that I'm
forever.
like, I don't want to see this on my board. And I get an Ember? Sounds good.
Purging your own.
Yeah, I purged plenty of my own artifacts with auction off during Keyforge celebration. Because I was just like, what am I ever going to do with this?
I would choose auction off here. I'm a big fan of purging artifacts.
I lean that way as well.
Corrode is a great card, though.
Corrode gives you a
Although when
lot of
I
flexibility.
Say corrode, that gives me a better chance of having multiple befuddles.
And a Brio.
Yeah, I don't know about Biznatch.
Oh, he's
Brian's good.
I'm sure he is, but he does not read fun to me is the problem.
He's not going to be fun for your opponent.
No, his name's Bryozark,
100%.
not Brio Funzark. There's no fun in his name.
I think your opponents will be fine if they're playing MM or Woe, but if they're playing the first 2 sets, like, they're probably done. And then if they're playing Worlds Collide, they kind of have to have dinos. Like,
Even MM or Woe, that's a big bitch.
They just have to have enough actions that they kill Bryozark, right, in a turn. I don't think that's necessarily that hard to do.
I don't think so.
It is like when you're making tokens. Like, that's what the set does.
If you make tokens, like,
And now my token's fish, so every time, I don't know.
yeah, well, you guys are setting up your perfect scenario where when you play
I am not.
Biznatch, you also
Listen,
got to play
it is
5
December
tokens to protect
15th.
them.
It is my wife's birthday, therefore I'm told I get to live in Christmas land today. So that's where I'm
You
living.
don't have to live in. All right, guys.
Happy
There
birthday.
are 29 cards in the set at common
Yeah, I'm
that make
not
tokens
saying you're not
without a
going
problem.
to make a token, but like, are you going to make enough that when I play 4 actions, I'm not just going to get to them?
Yes.
But you had to. That's 4 actions.
That's a lot of
that
cards.
You effectively wasted.
No, I
Pretty good.
understand, but then my game goes back to live because, like, resurgence and
Now what happens when
Like,
I have
Zoom and stuff
Prospector and I just
doesn't.
now I've also drawn 4 cards?
What I'm saying, like, you're not like most not like probably not playing 4 actions immediately the next turn. Like, that's not likely.
That's good. Tournament decks play that kind of action count, or are playing that many cards.
In a turn?
Not
No,
all that are
cards,
actions.
just actions. It's only actions.
Well, when your Tao doesn't draw you a card, it's harder, right?
I understand, but I think you guys are just thinking he's going to be buried way more than I think he is.
We'll see. I think it's just going to crush. Well, because I'm also specifically talking about like the sets, AOA and Coda. They don't
So-
actually have like a ton of creature control most of the time. They have like one, like
It's okay,
so, like
Dan.
they
All
didn't
your
answer the
Bryozard
board
decks,
prior
just
to
give them
Bryo
to me.
being there.
Just give me all your Bryo decks, Dan. Don't worry about it, okay? You don't have. You don't have to. I will free you of this burden. I will play with them, so you don't have to.
You are so benevolent, but he is not a cannot effect, so our New Dream artifact doesn't get around him.
That's true. It's a replacement effect.
Anyways, if you
Either
would
way,
like to just
I
give
do
those to
think
me,
Bryo will shut down those two sets regularly.
I think he shuts down. Well, I mean, he shuts down a lot, but
Well, because like in MM, he doesn't stop the pips. So like
No, he
even
doesn't.
if you play an action, if it has damage pips, the damage pips still resolve.
all right.
So like MM
Draws
will
a
be able to
Is
deal with it.
Bryo a
It's
6
lot.
or a 9?
It's a 6.
It's a 6. Okay, still a lot.
And MM normally has a bunch of 3-power dudes on the board. So
I am really surprised they made him a 6.
that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like 6 is
Yeah.
a lot. And it deals its damage. Like the fact that it's a 6 and it doesn't get like some kind of Shadow Self, Ether Spider, Shoulder Id like penalty.
Grommet.
Well, yeah. It's a big B. Like it's the biznatch.
All
Like,
right.
it's just big.
We got to wrap this up. The wifey's home and it's her birthday. Everyone say happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
She's turning 25 this year.
Again?
What?
Wow.
Shh. God damn it, Choke Show. I'm driving to Philadelphia to kick your ass. You don't ever put that in the back. You just say 25 and we all nod and in agreement. That's how this
25.
goes.
Hey Wookie, how long you been married?
Who's going to jail?
Yeah, well, remember that again portion of that where we all just nod in agreement and understand what's going on here?
Like, wait, how old are those kids?
Yeah, again.
Hey, Drazcor, you missed your opportunity this week to talk about how you earned Choke Show again.
Oh, we didn't do a why I suck at Keyforge.
Oh, dude, man.
All right, so anyways, hold on.
That game.
We're going to end this here?
We can do it next time.
No, we're going to do it. We're going to end this here. Thank you all for listening again this week, as I am sick and I can't remember how I normally close out this show. So we'll see y'all next week.
Happy fortune, everyone.
Peace.